All right, this is going to be a live stream to talk about some play from Patrick Queen in 2023. Usually on my live streams, I go through a number of plays and talk about players and certain concepts and patterns that I see. That's what we're going to do today. It'll be slightly different, to be honest with you. It'll be packaged by the type of play and the type of responsibility that Patrick Queen was asked to execute on that play. I'm going to let some video run here, to be honest with you, so that the streaming software can kind of get aligned. I've had a little bit of issue with my streaming computer this morning, so I want to test it here in the beginning and make sure I don't waste people's time. If you do join the stream and you can hear me, please let me know. I am in kind of an enclosed room this morning, so there may be a little bit of a weird sound to my voice, or more weird than it sounds anyway. So again, we're going to talk about Patrick Queen. I'm going to go through a little 2-minute intro here in a moment. I'm letting the plays run, like I said, just to get the streaming software aligned, and so YouTube understands that I am actually streaming something. I thought Patrick Queen was asked to do a whole lot more after watching. I'd say I probably watched 170, 180 plays this week. I moved them all into one folder, and then I cut it in half, and then started to. This is probably like a 4 or 5 day process. Then started to try to cut it down to the number of plays that I thought people would like to see. Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you for letting me know there's audio. So I agree with you, Riley. I think that Patrick Queen played way better than a lot of us realized, myself included. Like, I'll put myself there. It's not that I thought he played bad. I thought he played very well. But I'm going to try to talk about soft skills or certain techniques that he shows. He's always made splash plays, and I hate that term splash player, so I'm not going to apply that to him. I didn't like it when it was used to refer to him last year and as a rookie. But the facts are the facts. There were certain things he did very well, and there were some things that a lot of us and a lot of people criticized him for. So what I'm going to do now, since I've got the streaming software aligned, you guys are saying the audio is good. First of all, thank you for joining. This will be what I try to do on Saturday mornings during the off season, so long as people think they like it. Right? I'm going to go back to the plays here in a moment. It will generally be Ravens players that I cover. I'll try to cover a player in depth almost every Saturday morning. If people enjoy it, if people don't enjoy it, then I'll switch it up. So you guys let me know. What we're going to do is we're going to look at Patrick Queen. First of all, he's 23 years old. He won't turn 24 until August. So just as the 2023 season begins, I find that really unbelievable. The amount of snaps that he's played. He's played 3 seasons in the NFL already, to my knowledge. You guys still have audio? I use 2 PCs, 2 laptops, excuse me. I have a streaming laptop and a source laptop, and occasionally my streaming laptop gives me some notifications that don't look good. So in any case, Patrick Queen is 23 years old and already has 3 full seasons. I think it's a very unique situation. Kirk, how you doing, man? Thank you. I always see what you post up on Twitter. I try to like it or reshare it sometimes when I can, because I'm right now blessed enough to have, like 3,000 followers or something. So people post stuff, particularly stuff that's positive like you do. I usually try to reshare it to help them get their message out there. Thank you guys for letting me know the audio is good. Okay, so I think it's a unique situation that he's 23 and he's already got 3 full seasons under his belt. And some of you can correct me on this comparison. There's defensive players entering this year's draft who are 23. I'm not going to name them, but I know of at least 3. What we're going to do today is look at film from 2022. I did a little preview of it in the beginning. But specifically, I'm going to show you 4 or 5 elements to his game while talking about how the Ravens used him. And it's 4 categories, but one of those categories is kind of split off into 2, so I guess you could say it's 5. So let me tell you what I'm going to tell you, or let me tell you what I'm going to show in this video, and what I'm going to use to try to convince you that Patrick Queen played better than you may think he did, myself included. Like I said before, all right, number 1, the first thing we're going to cover is the one that he got a lot of criticism for in his first 2 years, and that's pass coverage. We're talking about zone and man coverage. Clearly, coming into this year, that would be considered a relative weakness of his. And what that means when I say relative weakness, it doesn't mean that he's terrible at it. It means compared to some of the other things that he does well, blitzing, reading against the run, that would be a relative weakness, meaning compared to the other parts of his game, the pass coverage people would have looked at as a relative weakness prior to this year. I'm not saying that that's completely true in all cases, though, to be honest with you. Sip to Tally, good morning, man. Thanks for joining, man. I think regardless of what any of us thought of his pass drops prior to this year, clear improvement, clear evidence of quicker reads, and then also that the Ravens trust him more. He's not just playing man into the boundary, and that's it. I will start off the video here in a moment with his interception against the Bengals because it was so amazing. All right, the second section of plays, and this was really fun for me to put together. It's him against the run, but it's more than just Patrick Queen making tackles. I'm going to mention this probably 3 or 4 times. Charles, what's going on, man? Can you hear me okay? Again, the second section will be run plays. His block destruction. Just fun to watch. I even messaged Sip to Tally last week and said something to him about, watching Patrick Queen film, had he done a video yet, because I know he really likes him. And the thing that I like is he's very unselfish. He's very unselfish with the way he plays. I'm not saying that he was selfish prior to this year, but he takes on blocks sometimes in a way that does 2 things. It ensures he will not make the tackle, but it also ensures that someone else will, and it'll be for a short gain. And I intend to show you 3 or 4 examples of that, and that's something that as a former linebacker coach just makes me smile. I think I even said that to Sip in the message. I said, man, I just smile I said it in our Discord, sorry. His recognition and his commitment to his angles was superior this year. Section 3 is still going to be run plays, but with our designed blitzes. And I think this is either called in the huddle or it's recognition pre-snap. And I intend to show you what I think is at least 2 examples of pre-snap communication and recognition. You may disagree with me, and that's fine, but I think there's at least 2 of them that are obvious and 3 others that are close. And at 23 years old, with all of the talent that we face this year, man, it makes me feel good about football to see people recognizing things pre-snap and doing something about it, using the information that they're given. Let me get some of the film back up here. So this a little bit of film run. I'm going to pull this back here in a minute. I do intend for this to be a long stream, so forgive me if that's not your thing. At 23 years old, the pre-snap recognition that's there now, I think, is vastly improved over the first 2 years. Now, I'm not going to turn this into a Wink versus Mike McDonald comparison. But there is something to be said about our lack of identifying formations under Wink. And if you look at the Giants' playoff loss to the Cowboys, to the Eagles, you see clear evidence of the Eagles running similar plays or concepts out of the same formation. The Giants just running what's called in the huddle. Basically running what's called by the coach pre-snap and not identifying anything as the offense lines up and then changing the call. I thought earlier in the year you saw examples of that with the Ravens too. In my opinion, it got way better. I will show you one here that I hated in week 4, and I know that a lot of you guys did too. All right, the last section before we really get into the film is going to be him as a pass blitzer. Man, he's impressive in that regard. That is a skill that he already had. That's why I saved it till the end. I think taking on run blocks, I think his pass drops and his pre-snap recognition improved a lot in 2023. And I think that one thing that really deserves mention about him is he improves during the season. Some guys do not. Some guys are who they are in week 1, and they are the same person in week 12 or 13 if you're a high school coach, or week 18, 19, 20, 21 if you're a NFL coach or whatever. He improves during the season, and I think that says a lot about him. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, to be honest with you, is we're going to look back at some 2021 film and briefly discuss some of the criticism or things that maybe people didn't like about him at that time. So I'm going to pull this film down and move us to the 2021 film. It's a different playlist, so I have to throw up another screen for you. Plenty of good plays in 2021. Don't get me wrong. It's not like he didn't make plays and have an impact. I think it was clear that he struggled in the first 5 weeks of the season last year, and then I thought things started to snowball in a good way. He got the ball rolling downhill and started to kind of be who he is. We know a lot of us felt like it was due to moving Josh Bynes into the starting lineup next to him. This year is different. In my opinion, he was playing better even before Roquan got added, and that's something that Coach said to me last night in the message. Look, made plays against a lot of teams last year. There certainly were times where he was decisive, where he was definitive, like I'm talking about. You'll see an example of it here. Taking his angle, reading his key, and going. Committed to his angle, not trying to figure things out on the way. Committed to his read and reacting to it. Some of these are taken off the old International Game Pass, so you got 4 or 5 seconds of film that you guys really don't need to see prior to the play. I think he's really improved on this concept, and I'll show you a play that utilizes it. When I say this concept, I mean running back one side, quarterback, boot the other way. And when you get that, running back flowing, in this case to the defense's right, you're normally going to get some kind of over concept, Yankee, whatever people want to call it, from the side where the running back's going to. Sometimes you get a guy coming out here, or as you see, they're setting up here, maybe a Z or an H-back running out to the flats. There was a rep against the Lions in 2021 in Week 3 that was really poor by Queen and Malik Harrison. And even last year, as you see here, less decisive, regardless of who he covers in this situation. I'm talking about being decisive. Agree, Jeremiah. Great point. That recognizes the routes, finds coverage consistently. You'll see a rep here from this year, 2022 later, where he's a little more decisive. Now, I like his awareness. That's one thing that I think would be mischaracterized for him, is his awareness level. This is an example of sometimes where people criticize a player and they don't really understand everything that's going on. Hopefully I'm not sounding like a jerk when I say that. All right, so this is, I believe, a 2nd and 5. And it's 3-step by the quarterback. So, like, Patrick Queen's pass drop, there's a lot of things to say about it. And sometimes you'll see people on Twitter, not just this technique or this concept, but other ones, talking about various things that a player does and not understanding. He has awareness of down and distance, and he has awareness that it's 3-step drop. The quarterback is done dropping. The quarterback isn't continuing to move back and go to 5-step or maybe 7-step. It's 3-step. Watch Queen. He basically stops when the quarterback stops. That's a drill. That's a drill that you do. If it's 3-step, you're looking at shorter routes where the ball's going to be thrown quicker. What that means is on 3-step, these guys can't get downfield as much. Now, certain quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, they'll 3-step and throw the thing up down the sideline because of certain, the receivers that they have. This is an example of one of the things where people would say things about Queen. It's a nice play. He doesn't get depth in his pass drops. And I have said that before on 5 or 7-step contests, but not on 3-step. He's got a higher awareness level than people offer. Check out the speed from 2021. Talked about this in a video last year. It's a keep by Justin Fields. It's a nice play concept. Hell, it's similar to some stuff the Ravens do. You got motion here. You got the back crossing Fields' face. So you got a lot telling you to go this direction, and Queen certainly does, or did. Pre-snap and then after the snap. And then you've got the H-back tight end looping out, kind of like the Ravens do. Fields going to keep it. You get the end zone angle in a minute. If you don't remember this play, that's okay. I remembered it because it just shows the speed that he has, because Justin Fields is, fast as lightning. And he actually out-leverages Queen here in terms of being closer to the sideline that's off-screen to our right. You can see Queen is a yard behind Fields. Puts his foot in the ground, takes off. Great play. We don't really have a force player there. Marlon kind of has a soft force out on the edge. Chuck Clark got pinned inside. All right, one of the things that wasn't great in 2021 or was inconsistent was split zone. I thought we had a lot of trouble with it when it was run to Queen's side. in 2021. We didn't have nearly as much trouble when it was run to Bind's side in 2021. This year, 2022, we were fine. We were fine. All right, so somebody, either Owe or Queen, has got to get inside of this kick-out block. If you're going to wrong arm it with Owe and go inside the kick-out block, then Queen is in the right place, to have to go and be the secondary contained player on the quarterback. Essentially, Queen and Owe would be doing a gap exchange. Owe would be going inside the kick-out block, and Queen going outside to go get the quarterback, delayed after seeing that the quarterback keeps it, obviously not just taking off and running. They don't do that. Neither one of them goes inside the kick-out block. That's my point. Josh Bynes did not struggle with that in 2021. He actually lit it up in the Vikings game and the Chargers game. He put on a show against split zone. Queen, a little bit more inconsistent in 2021. Going to move to the 22 film here in a minute. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys. He's more decisive in 2022. He's committed to his angle. This is an example, a very grainy film, my apologies. He got credit for decleating this offensive lineman, which he certainly did. Offensive lineman also fell over one of our D tackles' feet, if you remember. I think that might be Ellis, but I could be wrong. Who I think is now with the Giants. It's a great job by Queen of using his hands, moving laterally, being the only inside linebacker there to make the play. Manberg, what's up, man? Jeremiah, thank you. I'll read some of the comments now. I've been struggling to keep up with them. Yeah, okay, recognizing the routes, yep. All right, one more from 2022. And then we're going to move on. 2021, then we're going to move on to 2022 film. Toss play. This is an example from last year of pre-snap recognition. Now, this is 3rd and 5. You'll get the all-20 or the end zone angle in a moment. Look at him. He's just taken off. He's already crossed the midline. The midline is where the ball is. It's on the left hash. He's crossing the midline and gone. He knows the play. He knows the play and takes advantage of it. So there was already evidence of him being aware, of formations and aware of situations pre-snap to be able to help him make a play. All right. I think the defense did a much better job of communicating pre-snap overall, the entire defense, and Patrick Queen was one of those guys that was a part of that. Get the 2022 film loaded up. I said it earlier, and it's okay if you're not in total agreement with me. I think our communication was better overall, and I think our ability to recognize formations was better overall in 2022. I think the entire defense communicated better, and that's just the style and the way that the defense is run this year versus the way it was run in previous years. I'm not saying you can't do it like Wink Martindale did, because it certainly worked, and it worked this year for the Giants in their situation. But there was times where we had blitzes called, and we didn't call them off, even though we were out formationed. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's get into the film for 2022. Pass drops. All right, pass drops. I thought Queen was much improved. There's some pre-snap communication going on here by multiple guys. I love how he turns his back and gets out to the hook. He's got hook to curl here in this defense. Looks like we're kind of seeding the flat. I know a lot of people have talked about, Burrow throwing these routes quicker, and he certainly has. But look, the Ravens did a great job on Burrow this year. I think Burrow had 658 passing yards in 3 games against the Ravens. If someone wants to check that, let me know. I love the fact that he's turned his back and he's identifying the route. He's leveling off because he's fit underneath the route. Sometimes if you have a guy who's played basketball with inside linebacker, you can talk to him about zone defense. If they play some zone, you got to be able to see the ball, and you got to be able to see the guy you're trying to leverage and maybe keep from getting an easy pass. I like the pre-snap communication. This was the first thing I noticed. You got at least 3 guys here, and then I think Marlon also is getting the call, is hearing it. Look at the helmet. Marlon's looking. You got a hand signal here to here. That's a half-field call. And I think you got some kind of hand signal here to here. It's a half-field call. Patrick Queen is also providing some type of signal to everyone to confirm that he has the same information. That's what it takes when you got motion, you got multiple formations. Yeah, Burrow, thinks, I believe, that Queen's going to continue expanding, down with this route, or maybe he thought that he was going to widen directly to the sideline. In any case, he threw it. Yeah, Bloodbath, he was already playing at a high level, to be honest with you. I mean, those two play well together, no doubt. But he was already playing well this year. I love how decisive he is. Look at his eyes. Reads pass, boom, gone. That's that moment right there where he realizes it. And in the past, you had seen times where he would not identify the receivers. He would not look at the receivers at all. He would just get in his pass drop and read the quarterback. And there's nothing wrong with that in certain coverages, in certain situations. There are times, which I would say it's most of the time, as an inside linebacker, you want to have some knowledge of the route that's being run to your outside. We never say the route that's run behind you, because then that gives the player an out. Well, I didn't see it. It was behind me. No, it was outside of you. Again, getting a deeper pass drop. Compare this to that one from last year. Again, it was 2nd and 5 last year against the Vikings, and it was 3-step. This ain't 3-step. Look at the drop by the quarterback. As soon as the quarterback levels off, he levels off. So, quarterback, Queen, if this is too in-depth or too much, let me know. This is really the part that I think I'm somewhat good at. I'm not good at conjecture about certain things. We will do a Saturday draft preview next week. I'll pick one position that we'll talk about in college guys and show some stats. I'm not going to show any film on this channel for college stuff, certainly. He is way better at this format, man. Way better. I agree, Coach. I agree. Did anybody check it? I think it's 658 passing yards for Burrow in 3 games. That is not an anomaly. That is real data. If we played them a 4th time, Burrow would throw for about 235 yards, maybe 1 touchdown, maybe 1 interception. He's so good at this technique now this year compared to last year. Run action, and again, you got the over concept. Watch him fit underneath the route. Watch him stay underneath of the route in relationship to it to stay in the window. Uses his hands a little bit. 1,000 times better than last year, like I said, early in the season against Detroit. That one was a really bad rep. Some of you guys may remember it. I talked about it in video form 2 or 3 times. He's 23 years old. It's not surprising. All right, how do they use him? Generally, they ask him to cover into the boundary. They ask him to cover into the boundary. Sometimes it's man. Sometimes it's zone. This one, we got 3 under on the drag, and I think he does a nice job on Taysom Hill. Quarterback breaks contain. Short gain. He is generally not playing when he's protected. So here's what I mean. He's to the boundary right now. This is Roquan. Roquan has Kyle Hamilton outside of him. Patrick Queen has nobody. He's got the safety up top, don't get me wrong. But generally in the NFL, they're not spinning a safety down, because that kind of just gives away your coverage, to the boundary side. It tells you you're either getting 3, or it's man. And he's got some kind of release read on the back. He being the strong safety that rolls down to the outside. They do it sometimes. Here, what's my point? Setting Queen to the boundary is both, in the last couple of years, recognition that he needed that. Don't get me wrong, but it also puts him at some risk. It really isolates him against running backs and tight ends sometimes to the boundary. Yeah, the Bills couldn't do either. And I think I don't know who's going to win the games, Charles. So first of all, good point. But I think the Eagles are a bad matchup for the Chiefs. That's the only thing I think I know. I think it's possible the 49ers are too. But the Chiefs could win the whole damn thing. I could be way wrong. Again, to the boundary. Ball's on the left hash. Here's Queen. To the boundary. I think this is later in the game. I might be wrong. Where we're kind of playing our quarters coverage and letting things happen underneath. And certainly it's a good game. All right, a couple more in the pass coverage. This is 3rd and 5 against the Giants. I really like this play. That's Queen, and he's going to be manned up on Saquon. That's why he's looking at him. It's empty. The Giants have pretty much told us, this pass. I like what he's doing here. He's leveling off when Saquon blocks. Then he comes forward and makes the tackle. I think they ended up short there and had to go for it on 4th down, but I could be wrong. In any case, it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, and he's got recognition here. In the past, under Wink's defense, you know what we would do if we were playing man? If your man blocked, then you would blitz. And that's not every play, but that's, a lot of the Wink's coverages, that's what they would do. This case, he's been taught to level off, get in some kind of window, get in some kind of window to take away pass lanes. We didn't do a good enough job for 4 quarters against the Giants, clearly. This is an example of Queen doing a nice job on 3rd and 6. You would like for him to not level off so high, but at least he's not getting beat deep. All right, snag flat into the boundary, a version of snag flat, I should say. And he plays through contact here. I know that there was a couple situations earlier in the year where he did get blocked by position players, meaning, a receiver or maybe a running back. I thought he got better at that as the year went on. Again, I think he gets better every year. Somebody made the point earlier, like he got better when Roquan came on. I think Queen just plays better as the year goes on anyway, regardless of who's there. And maybe the last 2 years, we've seen that happen, and we have attributed it to playing next to Josh Bynes in 2021, playing next to Roquan Smith in 2022. Not a good rep on a 3rd and 6, but again, he's not protected. He doesn't have a strong safety outside of him. Roquan does. He's got Kyle Hamilton here to protect him, meaning Queen kind of has to overcommit to this. He can't let the guy just run to the sideline. He's got to play this route by the running back, and then the running back just turns it back in. Queen's unable to redirect, tries to grab. Ends up being a big gain. Now, I don't think they scored on that. I don't think they scored a touchdown on that possession. Again, to the boundary. So this is how they're using him. To the boundary against running backs, against tight ends. You normally have the X receiver back there and trips to the field. And I thought he generally did a pretty good job, with some exceptions. Another to the boundary, because you see the ball's on the right hash. Remember last year against the Rams, they ran this and beat him to the inside? He's not giving up that leverage now. Now that means he's giving up the outside leverage in this little bracket coverage. It's a 3rd and 5, and I think they end up short. I mean, you'll take that as opposed to him overreacting to the outside and the guy crossing his face, which Njoku didn't give any, fake to do so. I'm reminding you of, I think, 2 plays against the Rams in 2021 and maybe 1 against the Packers at home. Yeah, good point, Kirk. I agree. Now look at the difference in terms of his width. He's got the strong safety lined up outside of him to the boundary. I'm not saying we should do that all the time. I'm just saying, Ingraven, good morning, man. How you doing? I'm just saying that rarely happens for Queen when he plays to the boundary. He doesn't normally get the tight end or the strong safety outside of him. But there's 2 tight ends here for the Saints. They're rolling Chuck down. He doesn't have to get the width. And he can play those little China in or whip routes on leverage, because as this tight end is going out here, he can stay behind it. Why? Because he's protected. He's got someone who can take that route. He doesn't have to fly on this, kind of like I'm talking about with that running back route by the Falcons. He wasn't protected. He didn't have help out into the flats. This case, he does. Hopefully I'm saying that in a way that makes sense. Not absolving him of getting beat into the flats, but I'm just explaining to you why it can happen sometimes, to the boundary, to the field, whatever. All right, he does a great job on this one, man. Maybe I'm going too in-depth here. If I am, you guys let me know. He does a great job IDing both receivers and then breaking on the running back. Now, there's a guy to talk about at the end of this play or during the play as well, but look at the helmet. I believe that on the snap, he sees this route. Then he gets eyes on, oh, my bad. Only one watching that understands what's happening right now is Coach. He knows I'm using huddle. So then he sees this route. But neither one of those guys is the guy who gets the ball. It ends up being a running back coming out into the flats. Queen breaks on it, gets involved with a tackle with a host of other guys, one of which is Justin Madubuike. We're going to rewind this back and let you see it. We should be re-signing Justin Madubuike right now. I'm not saying it should be for a ton of money, but we should be locking him up. That is Raven football on defense. People getting there on their leverage side. In this case, the running back catches it, gets upfield. Madubuike's leverage side is on the inside, clearly, right? He's got the sideline to the outside of the running back. Get there and punish people. Arrive with an attitude. He does, man. I love his game. We should re-sign him now. All right, taking on blocks, run reads. I would say much more consistent with how physical he is. I love his punch. here using his hips. What's it do? Now, Josh, don't ask me what Josh Bynes doing here. I love Josh Bynes, but he is backpedaling. I guess he's getting it. I guess he's reading this as like some type of pass pro. But he's getting out versus Queen, who's coming downhill, thankfully. And Queen sets that guy inside, meaning Queen sets that lineman to the inside, blocks it off with Matabike, who's an outside technique as well. Running back's got to bring it back, got to bounce it back twice because Bynes actually does redirect and make the tackle. But really, I would love to speak to him, Josh Bynes, and be like, hey, what did you see there that caused you to do that? Because like Josh Bynes is one of those guys that read things correctly, 95% of the time. Young Cherokee, what's up, man? Thank you for bringing your energy in here. This is all run reads by Patrick Queen, and it's him taking on blocks. I love this one. Love this one. Now, you'll say, he didn't make the tackle, coach. I don't know whether he got credit or not. It's a great football play. That's probably a 310, 320-pound man, number 76. Queen is willing to run into him to clog up the hole. I'm not saying that in the past Queen would, run here to try to make the tackle and then give Saquon the ability to cut it back. Now you have guys that look like they're winning on their leverage side. Don't get me wrong. But this is a great job of being committed, coming downhill, clogging up the lane. Looks like maybe a 3 or 4 yard gain. That's typical of what Patrick Queen did this year. Same play, all 22. What do you guys think? I mean, I told you at the beginning, for those of you that was in here, I was going to try to go in depth and look at the technique, some of which I see and I can comprehend and quickly explain to you, and some that I may not be, to be honest with you. But I love the block take on, the destruction. Hitting the different sleds is one of my favorite drills with linebackers because it develops that automaticity, that automatic reaction to contact in the last yard and a half before another human being is on top of you. And in this case, it's a 330-pound or 320-pound, human being. Take on. Forcing the ball to bounce outside where we have help, in this case, Marcus Peters. It's a beautiful football play. Doesn't get credit for the tackle. That's what I mean when I say unselfish. You'll have selfish kids, or maybe immature kids or players that will try to run upfield or something crazy and maybe open up a lane. Now, I don't think that will work in this case because Roquan is there folding over the top. I just love these plays, man, by Queen. That's why I think I said it in our Discord. I said, man, I'm just sitting here smiling watching these plays. Like 23-year-old guy. Somebody earlier said, should we pick up his 5th-year option? I don't know, man. That's not my job. Like, if I was involved in the decision, I would just show these plays. I would do the same thing I'm doing now, except make a little bit more money off of it. Like, just show the plays. And then ask, how much is that worth to you? Yeah, you got to be big on block destruction, Charles. And I think Queen's gotten better at it. Again, he improves during the year, but I think he's gotten better at it in his 3rd year in the league. I love this one because of where he takes on the block. It still is a big play for them. Let's take a 4 or 5 yard gain. Ball's on a 25, ends up on almost a 30, so let's call it 5 yards. I didn't think we ever really figured out, on the edge what we wanted to do sometimes, whether we wanted to go inside and spill it or whether we wanted to set it. In this case, we're setting it. I just love where Queen takes on the block by the H-back. It's F counter, or I call it F counter. The line of scrimmage is the 25. He takes on the block at the 24.5. I just feel like that's a beautiful job by him of setting it inside. He certainly can't be on the inside here. If he's on the inside, Chubb can just bring this thing back out once he breaks through the first level. We're not there with Bynes, and Matabike gets comboed because he's stemming inside. I just like the commitment. It's just one of those things when you're watching film with a kid or a player, you just tell them you appreciate it. Cold Crush, all right, what's up, man? Thank you. All right, I was looking at the chat for a second. Almost done with run reads. I like this one so much. First of all, Clark is involved. I want to do one on Chuck Clark soon like this. because I think there's some interesting things that happened this year in terms of how he played almost better at times the further he was away from the line of scrimmage. I'm talking about Chuck Larkin, and that surprises me a little bit. But I want to look at the film to confirm. I don't want to just make up my mind. I love that Queen goes backside on this and then gets involved in the tackle. I know there's other guys there. Travis Jones is solo blocked. Broderick Washington solo blocked. Calais Campbell's winning. I think it's late in the game, and we know the run is coming, so we're trying to stop it. I just think it's a great football play. Same play, all 22. Him and Bynes are having some kind of discussion about something, and he goes underneath. So we call this backside. He goes backside on this lineman here, and it doesn't matter necessarily. Jones and those guys are already there, but committed to his angle. Love his game this year. You guys let me know if I'm overstating it. This is one of my favorite plays from Patrick Queen this year. Watch him track Nick Chubb, and every lane that Nick Chubb looks for to cut into, Patrick Queen is there. And really, he's the first guy to touch him, like 7 yards downfield, I believe. Again, we're not sure with JPP whether we're going to set it inside or whether we're going to wrong arm it. I'm talking about here, whether we're going to run down the line, wrong arm it, let somebody fold over the top in a gap exchange, or whether we're going to set it. I don't think we set it really well here. I think he could certainly, blow up this guy a little more. It looks to me like JPP's trying to make the play instead of just destroying the block. He is taking on the block, but I think he's trying to make the play instead of just knocking it back. That will be the word that we would use. But I just love how Queen tracks Chubb there as the backside inside linebacker. Agreed, Kirk. Agreed. Run fit's got a whole lot better. I told you guys this is going to be in-depth. If it's too in-depth, let me know. I want the Saturday morning live streams to be something that people enjoy, and hopefully get to know the player a little better and point out to me maybe things that I've missed. I'm obviously going to be saving plays for everybody. This is a great fit. Unblocked, though. He's not blocked. So it's like, some people would say, well, anybody could fit that. Well, yeah, I guess they could. He's just got to understand where to fit. Tyus Bowser does, look, Tyus Bowser normally does great work on the edge. They're giving him this kind of like weird block here, like they're acting like they're trying to block him and then release outside of him. And you can see Bowser unsure of how to handle it. Like, what's going on here? What's going on? All right, now I got to take on the tackle, set it inside. And because, he had to at least be the kick-out guy, the guy that was going to get kicked out, again, leaves Queen unblocked. Normally, the normal blocking scheme that you would get for that is you would get the tight end working down to the front side inside linebacker. That's why Queen is unblocked here. Somewhat unusual, maybe a little similar to an arc release, just a delayed release outside. Yeah, Cold, I think that what you're saying, there's some accuracy to that. I do think he played better this year further back than I would have guessed. That's what I mean. I think I was, again, impressed with how he played deep, but I want to watch the film a little more to confirm what I thought I saw. I can't, me personally, I'm not comfortable saying something definitive unless I've watched, like 130, 140 plays in a row to kind of get a pattern of what I think I see. I love this play. This is beautiful. Him and Roquan, Roquan gets there, doesn't finish. Okay, that happens. He's on the wrong side. He's got head and shoulder on the wrong side. But Queen finishes it off. I'm talking about there. Roquan just doesn't finish the tackle, but Queen does. Hey, you had plenty of situations where it was the other way. Actually, I think I'm going to show you one here in a minute where Queen is the first guy in the backfield, doesn't finish it, and then Roquan does. Couple more run reads here. This is a unique one for me. You'll see the Chiefs run this against the Bengals. Now, it's not always going to be with two guys down into the boundary, but the Chiefs run this kind of like a little delay, give to the running back who's offset in what I call A or B, and they're going to run that against the Bengals into the boundary because they're going to run that away from the nickel defender. They did it last year with McKinnon. If the Chiefs win tomorrow, I don't think it'll be because they make 6 or 8 huge plays in the pass game. I think it will be because they kind of set things up. And this little delay run action is one of the things that I think they do. In any case, Bowser's getting kind of like just a base block by the tight end. Queen, again, is unblocked, just going to fit it in there. You have to get safety fits into the boundary if you're going to play nickel because you're kind of one man down in terms of the gaps. We're 100% young. We beat the Bills, for that most of the game. We outplayed them, no doubt. He recognizes something pre-snap here. This is a run blitz, I guess. Maybe it's a formation recognition thing. I don't see him communicating anything to anyone. Do you? But what I do see is, as he blitzes, Chuck Clark comes down and replaces him. So to me, this is coordinated. This isn't just Queen seeing something and going. This is coordinated, planned, because of the formation. They don't do things in the NFL hard-coded. Well, sometimes they do. Let me rephrase that. This is based on the formation, the motion. Look, as soon as that motion starts to go, Chuck is already spinning down. Queen already sees it. So this is pre-snap recognition by a 23-year-old guy with a lot of snaps in the NFL. There is certainly a lot of evidence to say, yeah, they should re-sign this dude. There certainly is. I don't know where that line is to make that final decision. All right, a draw, another tackle for loss against the Browns. Thank you, Manberg. I do a little bit of that too, Manberg, probably. I do a little bit of that too. Like the YouTube shorts I make, I try to, I don't say anything in them, but I try to at least show some plays that are going to keep people's attention for 35, 40 seconds. You'd be shocked at how hard it is to keep people's attention for 30 seconds, let alone 45 minutes like this. All right, again, I think you got pre-snap communication between these two. I was looking at the chat for a second. I think he's telling JPP to stay outside because he's going in. I think he knows that you're going to get this fold scheme, meaning tight end to inside linebacker, tackle, kick out JPP, and then the running back run in between that seam that's created. I think he tells JPP here to stay outside because he's going. Again, I think that's formation recognition. Pro Twins A-gun. More pre-snap communication between him and Smith. You see him say something, you can see his breath fly up. Maybe you can. It's a run blitz. It's damn near unstoppable against stretch sometimes if you got a fast linebacker. You've got two fast linebackers. Yes, he did, Ingraven. I love this blitz. There was times where it didn't work, don't get me wrong, but we Xing it, basically. Washington going this way. Queen coming here. And if it's run to this side, then great. Then we've already got guys moving in that direction, and we've got them on that track. If it's not, if it's run to this side, I've explained this before, so forgive me if you've heard this many times. If it's run to our right on the screen right now, the defense is left, then all that's going to happen is Roquan's going to get a short edge because somebody on this right side is going to go get Queen, and you'll see that's exactly what happens here. And we just fold. Now, look, it's also a badass play by Justin Madubuike. I ain't set it up like this. I didn't intentionally pick plays where Madubuike looked like a badass. I just did it. And then saw 6 or 8 of them. I mean, what do you say? Just takes the right tackle. That's the same right tackle. That's the right guard, excuse me. I thought it was the right tackle that decleated Owe later on in the game. Troy, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. All right, so the blitz doesn't always work for Queen or anybody. It doesn't always work. The running back on this one's going to start off flow here, and that's where Queen's blitzing. All right, Queen's blitzing to this side. And then the running back just winds it back, and Owe kind of stays outside, if you ask me. He has Chuck Clark, the strong safety, outside of him. Owe kind of bases it. In my opinion, this has got to be one of them situations where Owe recognizes the base block and understands, I got help outside of me, so I can fold inside. To do this with high school kids when we had the strong safety or corner, to their side, tell them, react to a base block by jumping inside. It's something that tight ends aren't prepared for, at least early in the game. Now, once you've done it 6 or 8 times and you've folded in that C gap, to be honest with you, yes, the tight end's going to start to recognize that. But actually what happens is the coach stops calling them plays. Coach starts trying to run off tackle, which you kind of want when you walk in the corner or the nickel up outside the 9 technique. But anyway, you see Queen blitzing here. Also, Bynes doesn't redirect like Smith does, but look, the flow is to the top side. So Bynes got to respect that. So he's getting sucked up here, moved up, and then when the running back winds it back inside the C gap on the other side, there's no way for Bynes to redirect there. I think Oweh should have reacted to that base block in an atypical fashion. All right, I think you got improved run reads. Now here's one bad one, and I think this is a really bad one that was important, and I think Queen would like to have this one back. If he had this run read blitz today, I think he makes the play. Huge moment, 2nd down and 3. In my opinion, this should have been a sack and maybe even a forced fumble. I know they teach quarterbacks this. I'm aware of that. They teach quarterbacks this. Let me ask you this. 235-pound Patrick Queen, if he goes on the track that he should, where's the football end up? Now you may say, Coach, I don't think he makes the tackle. Well, we would have secondary guys to recover. In my opinion, Queen plays this, I don't want to say selfishly. That's not the right word. He doesn't play this as unselfish as I'm telling you he is on a lot of other times on the football field, which is why I would love to see him get another opportunity at this. The read is quite simple. Tailback or fullback to you, set it inside. Set it inside, knock it back. Tailback, fullback away from you, quarterback booting. You are to go to the outside foot of the tailback's alignment. You will meet the quarterback. Look at Josh Allen's foot. It's outside the, the 18-yard line? I'm going to pull this back. Where's the running back's foot? Left foot, outside foot. Outside the 18-yard line. We would normally do a 1 foot or 2 foot expansion, depending on the athletic ability of the quarterback and the athletic ability of the guy that we had. You know, what I'm talking about is, in this case for Queen, I'd probably say 1 foot. You know, you're gonna get 1 foot outside of the outside foot when the tailback goes away on this read. Not every play, but just on that read, and then you just rep the shit out of that read. I'm gonna insert an ad here in a minute, and you see you're gonna run right into it. And you tackle him on the outside shoulder. Hold him up. Let your teammates rally. We used to use it against split backs and wing T so when we wanted to. Huge missed opportunity, right? All right. Blitz, redirect. We're really moving at a snail's pace here. My apologies. Redirects well. I'm just going to let some of these plays run and not annotate them as much, to be honest with you. QB hit on a delayed read blitz. I think it's either a delayed blitz by design or he's got the running back man and he sees the running back not do anything and then he goes. It's a quarterback hit. It's a completion. Geno Stone got beat by Knox. One of them, I thought that we should have had Hamilton on him here, but I don't even see Hamilton on the field right now. So X blitz with Bynes. Bynes misses the sack. This is a interesting play for me. I said in a video earlier this year, like, hey, come on, Patrick. Don't celebrate till the play's over. To me, this says something about Patrick Queen's personality and about how much he cares about his teammates. And you can't see that, so kind of this is conjecture. But what's he think is happening right now? He thinks old man Josh Bynes is getting the sack. He starts celebrating. The play's not over, so that's not a good thing. But it is a good thing that he is so happy for his teammate that he's beginning to celebrate. I wanted to say this earlier. I should have while we have more viewers in, but I love seeing how players celebrate when someone else makes the play. Of course, Patrick Queen was just excited that he made a sack, right? Obviously. He's also excited when someone else makes the play. I just think that's unbelievable. You guys let me know. This ends up being a sack for him. This is very similar to a stunt we ran against the Bucs when Justin Houston got a sack late. I'm not going to show you the end zone angle. Queen is fantastic at this. I think he's just trying to get this guard out of the way. So the guard's helmet is here, all right? Because he knows that Hamilton is going to go underneath. I think that's the design of this stunt. I think we saw it against Tampa Bay. Running back does a nice job here. Guard peels off. to also go get Hamilton, and that's a fatal mistake there. It's 3rd and 8. We end up with a sack because the guard and the running back go with Hamilton. So it's kind of like 3-on-3. Hamilton, Queen, Owe versus the left guard, left tackle, and the running back. I like our chances there in terms of the matchup. You know what I mean? Queen gets a sack. Actually, I think they gave a half sack to Queen and Owe. Really good at these blitzes, if you ask me. Yeah, you're right, Ingraven. That one really did hurt. Troy, he definitely does. Give me 20 minutes with him three days in a row. I'll fix it. Anybody can do that read. I mean, anybody can do that read if you teach it based on foot placement. And we know however you're reading the tailback, whatever part of his body the coach is telling you to read, that's fine. But you have an aiming point. And if you're responsible for boot, you go to that aiming point. I mean, I had a friend of mine make 15 sacks against the wing T his senior year because he used that read. And when the halfback goes away, he just went to the aiming point. I mean, they ran some wingback counter up underneath of us, But in any case, he gets the pressure on the quarterback, and it results in Justin Houston's. Still can't believe this wasn't a strip sack, but it's whatever. They reviewed it and ruled that it was just a sack. This is an even better example, man. This is just beautiful unselfishness and willingness to make the play, but not get credit for making the play. Justin Houston, this is in the middle of Justin Houston's really insane run around about week 7 to 11. I think it was 5.5, maybe 6.5 sacks during that time period, something like that, on a very low snap count. I don't know if you guys watch it, but I was on Ken's podcast, Film Study Ravens, the other day, and we talked about Houston's run. I thought it was beautiful to watch, the old guy get one last run. And this, to me, is an example of, someone else making the play for you. There's Queen. And look, a lot of inside linebackers are asked to do this. And all of them, or almost all of them, do it. But they don't all do it with the same commitment as Queen. There was a play last year against the Broncos where he was asked to do this. Now, not on a guard, though. It was on a tackle, all right? And he ended up getting decleated because as he was going for the guard, or the tackle, as he was going for the tackle, someone else from this side hit him. And his momentum is already going this way. He was sold out to take out the tackle. He was sold out to do so. And a lot of very immature people were like, look at Patrick Queen getting blown up again. Well, he was already moving in this direction. It was actually a flipped image. The defense was on bottom for the end zone. And the offense for the Broncos was on top. And another player from the inside-out leverage hit him and knocked him down. And people were like on social media saying dumb shit, about how he got blown up again. Well, he was committed to what he was doing to free up a teammate, and that's why it ended up looking so bad. It's people that wouldn't be as committed, and guess what would not happen to them? They wouldn't get blown up, but they wouldn't be able to free their teammate up. And Queen does that, man. There's something real to be said about his enthusiasm for the game. And the way he celebrates, it doesn't look fake to me at all. So taking that into consideration, I think that should be taken into consideration when deciding whether or not to re-sign him. I do. I know that people are going to talk about money and whatever they're going to talk about. Fine, do that. I think these things matter. Commitment to your technique because it's going to free someone else up. Because I think that really is just commitment to your team. And I'm not saying he wasn't committed last year, but there seems to be a different level in 2022 to that commitment. That I don't know that I probably could say it better than that, and maybe some of you will say it better in the comment section. Another example of him being unselfish. I should have shown the end zone for this for real. This is going to be essentially another 3-on-3. The back is involved here as well. But this frees up Matabike. Now this, again, I didn't design this to highlight Matabike. Like, if you think that I had ulterior motives and just setting this up to make Matabike look good, more power to you. This was just plays by Patrick Queen, and I think we've got Queen on the guard, and it's kind of looking like maybe it will be a pick. So the edge player would go underneath. Now, I will tell you, there's 4 or 5 times this year where I wonder if it is supposed to be a pick. This one, I don't think so. He's running upfield, in my opinion, to get Matabike to one-on-one. So Matabike is getting a one-on-one with the center. Queen, that's why Queen is going outside on the guard. He's giving Matabike that A gap. I needed to show the end zone here, so my apologies. Matabike is in the A gap to the right of the center. Queen is going B gap, Owe is going C gap. I think that this is very similar to some route concepts in the NFL for offense, whereby a certain receiver runs a particular route to get another guy open. And then you'll have very short-sighted rating services, people analyzing the game like, oh, he's not open. He's not supposed to be, dummy. He's doing it to get someone else open. And this is an example of that, if you ask me. It's people that would say this is a loss by Patrick Queen. He's being told to go B-gap and get out of the way to clear the lane for Matabike. And we can't know that to be true. I can't know that to be true, but it certainly looks like it to me. And that's where, like, even some of those rating services, when they talk about pass rush win rate and all that stuff, I mean, you can look at it, and certainly a guy with who's 12 percentage points higher than another guy is playing better. Yeah, sure, no problem. My point is, there's times where we don't know what the player is told, and applying a loss when it looks like by design he was trying to essentially give himself up. I struggle with co-signing those things by generally it's rating services, for real. We're very blessed as Ravens fans for the content creators that we have that generally don't just say, oh, it's another loss for this guy. Yeah, Jeremiah, they have no clue what they're looking at. They don't. I don't know who. I'll say this flat out. There is no way that they grade. Somebody want to check. I think it's 1,600 players. Maybe that number's way off. There's no way they grade every single player in the NFL within 24 hours of the games being over, period. All right, this is a bad example for our defense. Now, I don't think that we continued to do this. You guys can tell me if we did. I know that the chat is a little bit delayed. And first of all, the chat is set up only for subscribers. I should have said that earlier. Like, I'm done with letting people comment who aren't subscribers. They got to subscribe for at least 5 minutes to be able to comment. Some blitzes got to be called off. They just do. This one's maddening. I don't know if this is on Queen, if this is on our coaching staff, if they're not letting them check out of it, but they have to. And I feel like later on in the year, we stop doing these things. To me, what happened in the Bengals game in Week 5 really transformed our defense and may have changed some of our coaches' minds. I think we got a little more conservative defensively. I think we stopped with some of the crazy stunts that we ran against Miami and the Bills here, for real. I think it's good for the long-term effectiveness of our defense if it stays in our coaches' brains. People are going to say this is a 3-on-3. This is not a 3-on-3. This is 3-on-2. This is 3-on-2. This is the third defender. Look how we would say this. If he is further outside the numbers from the sideline, and he's even further from the guy catching the bubble, we're losing. If it's an even count. So if you want to say it's 3-on-3, that's fine. So let me restate that again. If he's further than the top of the numbers, because the bubble is generally going to the bottom of the numbers. It's generally, in and up out here. If the third guy is outside the top of the numbers and he's equidistant or further away from the guy catching the football, we've lost. We've lost. Yeah, there's no way they're grading that many people. There's just not. Like, I would say that to their face. Actually, give me an opportunity to say it to their face. Like, they're not. If you have Queen here, I wish I need to be better with Photoshop skills. If you have Queen here and Queen's feet are right here, this is okay. This is okay. But you can't run these stunts versus 3 and this guy be so far away from trying to defend it. Williams is selling out for the outside, trying to force it back into Chuck. I mean, my goodness, if we had Queen running here and Chuck running here, we'd probably be fine. Yeah, I know we got to make the tackle. It's a wet day, blah, blah, blah. This is not on Patrick Queen. This is on our staff for not teaching him. I mean, our rule, we had a rule. Our outside linebackers don't blitz versus trips. We did it one time, gave up a huge play to a Division I kid, and we never did it again. My kids were forced to check out of it. They had a hand signal they had to send to me over the sideline. They had to provide that hand signal. So I might be down on this sideline. And our outside linebacker, or 3, meaning 1, 2, 3, I don't count this guy because he's a first-level defender, had the rule, don't blitz versus trips or bunch. And he had to give a hand signal to me even if I'm way over here on the sideline. So he had to turn his face mask and look over, give me that hand signal. So he knew that I knew. He recognized he waved off the blitz. And I told him, it's so that way when I go watch the film, if I told you to frickin' blitz and you didn't, you better have showed me that hand signal pre-snap. We usually slap in the inside leg. So this ain't Patrick Queen. That's on our coaches. I know I replayed it 6 or 8 times, so my apologies. Look, if you enjoyed this one, let me know. If you have a player that you'd like to see me show some film of and maybe do this in depth. This was a little longer than I intended for it to go. But I thought Patrick Queen's play deserved it. It warranted it. You guys, I'm not into grades, A, B, C, D, E. I thought what Patrick Queen did this year was exceptional. Thought he got better as the year went on. The 2 plays that really stick out to me is the missed tackle to Josh Allen. I think if that play is in week 8, he makes that play. I think he makes that play. I think he gets better as the year goes on, and I think he recognizes things better. So I'm excited, for us to at least have one more season with him. He turns 24 in August. I think he had 117 tackles this year. I believe he had, let me check the stats. Hold on a second. Let me switch screens for a second. I think he had 117 tackles this year, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. I think he had 2 picks. I'm going to show the first pick again, and then that's going to be the only one. So I'm not going to run through everything. This was a huge moment. Here's why I really like this play. And this was a huge moment. So Patrick Queen's interception's coming up against the Bengals. If you remember, this was 4th and 2, and we missed the opportunity to get a touchdown, all right? So the very next play, he comes out and gets an interception. So that improvement in technique in zone pass drops, that improvement in awareness. And I think there's an element to this that's pre-snap recognition too. I think Patrick Queen, Humphrey, Stone, Clark, and Peters, I think they know the route. I'm going to be honest with you. I think once they see this motion across, I think they know the route. And that gives Patrick Queen some confidence and assuredness in taking this pass drop. If he didn't know the route, is it possible he wouldn't have turned his back and got underneath this little curl? It's possible. It is possible. I'll admit that. But I'm not trying to be negative. Like, the man made the play when we needed it. We just missed. I thought he had a second interception. Maybe I'm wrong. We just missed an opportunity to score and punish this Bengals defense. And look, there's plays to be made against this Bengals defense. Y'all know how highly I think of the Bengals defense. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you turn this shit off if I start talking well about the Bengals defense. But there's plays for us to be made against this defense. And this was a huge moment, for real, huge moment, getting the football back. Can Patrick Queen have 5 interceptions in a season? Well, I think it depends on the coverages. You know what I mean? The coverages that we play dictate how many interception opportunities you're going to get. Now, later in the season, Joe Burrow's probably going to try to, work past out of this progression because of the lane that's there. I mean, let's be honest. If Patrick Queen doesn't intercept it, Josh Bynes is going to decleat Jamar Chase or have an opportunity to. It's a great play, especially, correct me if I'm wrong, he had missed 2 opportunities for interceptions in the last couple of weeks. Is that correct? I love this picture right here. I'll show it to you guys real quick. I showed it earlier. It's one of my favorite shots that the guy made for me. It's just beautiful work. I think he had 2 opportunities for interceptions before week 5. If you were to give him those opportunities in week 8, 9, 10, and onward, I think he makes them. I really do. He dropped 3, Kirk. Gotcha. I mean, I wouldn't sit here and say that his hands are the best in the league, but there's some evidence that I've shown you guys today, that play in particular, that he's gotten a whole hell of a lot better. Where are you guys with what I've talked about? I tried to show you his block destruction. Excuse me. I tried to show you his pass coverage in man and zone and how they're using him, how they're deploying him. Later in the year, there was some times where they switched him and Roquan. I'm going to be honest with you. You remember the game-winning touchdown by the Steelers in Baltimore? I mean, of course you remember it. Roquan was into the boundary. He was manned up on the back. That would normally be Patrick Queen's coverage. I'm not sure why they were switched, to be honest with you. Yeah, Daniel, that's true. I mean, there's other stuff you can do too, but absolutely. Generally played into the boundary. Thought did a pretty good job. Zone coverage definitely improved this year. Awareness improved for real. The passion and the unselfishness, I think, was always there. But when you combine the unselfishness with improved block destruction, which was the second part, the second section that I talked about, you get some of the results that we showed today. Hopefully you guys like this one. This one was fun for me to do, but it took a lot of work. It was, getting, like I said, about 170, 174 plays from the season. And he played damn near 95% of the snaps, if memory serves. And then whittling that down, cutting that down to probably cutting it in half, maybe 80 plays. And then cutting that down to the 42 that I showed you today. I missed some plays. I missed some plays. There was a strip to end the first half against the Giants. That was like, it was late in the half. It didn't allow the Giants to get the Hail Mary off. I'm not sure if you guys remember. It was around midfield. I think there was a fumble recovery that I didn't chart or I didn't have. But I'll tell you what it does. Whether you're smart, average intelligence, or dumb like we all can be sometimes, when you watch 170 plays of somebody and then you make a decision, all right, I'm going to cut it in half now, and then basically cut it in half again to get down to 42, you feel like you really get to know that player. You know what I'm saying? Like you really get to know that player. And I hope the dude's around for at least 2 more years, because now that I've watched so much damn film of him, I feel like I can look at him and look at his alignment and kind of guess the coverages a little bit. And I think that's one thing that I didn't cover in this video that I'll try to cover in another one, is how quarterbacks can figure out coverage depending on certain players' alignment. And that'll be a long video with a lot of research, and I may make some mistakes on it for real. But when you look at Patrick Queen's alignment, there are a lot of times where you can kind of look at him and tell the coverage. And I think that's why the Ravens week 5 was so important for us, because we used multiple different looks to get into Tampa 2 against the Bengals. And I think week 5 changed our defensive staff in some ways, even though, of course, we did blow the game against the Giants. We did blow the game against the Jaguars. And then the real disappointing loss, obviously, to the Steelers later in the season. Let me know if you guys liked it. If you did, enjoyed the content, consider sharing the link on social media. I'm going to share it up once I'm done with the video here. The way that live streams work, on replay, people can see the live stream chat and all that stuff. That's why we try to Charles, Josh, other people that operate as a moderator or whatever you want to call it. I appreciate it because when it replays on when it replays for somebody who clicks on it, tonight or tomorrow or whatever, it'll have the things that people commented in. That's why I want to try to keep the silliness to a minimum. So appreciate you guys' time. I'm going to post it up and share it on Twitter. You guys share it on Twitter, that would be great. Help the video get more reach. Well, who y'all picking this weekend? I'm going to pick the Eagles, and a part of me wants to pick the Chiefs. I watched the regular season game of the Chiefs and the Bengals, and I have less confidence in the Bengals defense after watching that game. The Chiefs did not have nearly as much trouble with the Bengals defense in their regular season as I thought. I'll do a standalone video on it, but I'll give you guys a little sneak into it. Look, to be honest with you, the Chiefs really didn't get stopped after, I think, their third possession. The Chiefs really didn't get stopped in the regular season game against the Bengals. They missed a field goal in the second half, and Travis Kelce fumbled on a 19-yard gain, 20-yard gain, something like that. Chiefs had a field goal on their first possession, punted on their second. Here's the rest of their possessions, all right, in the regular season. 14 plays, 81 yards, touchdown. 7 plays, 77 yards, touchdown. 8 plays, 53 yards, touchdown. So you're talking about 3 touchdowns in a row. Now I'm omitting an end of half possession. Doesn't count, right? The half's over. So you're talking about 29 plays and 3 possessions in a row for the Chiefs. 29 plays, about 220 yards. So what is that, like 7.5, 7.4, something like that per play? Then you have Travis Kelce's fumble when they're leading 24-20. And Travis Kelce gets to about midfield on a little screen. I think it's a screen or just a sit route in the middle of the field. Fumbles the ball to the Bengals, who go down, score, take a 27-24 lead. Chiefs get the ball back with about 8-9 minutes left. Go downfield, miss a field goal. My point in telling you all that information is you have evidence there that from their third possession on, and their first possession was 10 plays, 65 yards. You have evidence there that from their third possession on, the Chiefs really didn't get stopped. I mean, they really didn't get stopped against the Bengals in their regular season. I'm worried about that as someone who respects the Bengals defense and likes what they do. Really like what somebody told me how to pronounce his name this week, Lou Anarumo, does defensively, and really enjoy watching their safeties, Von Bell, Jesse Bates, Mike Hilton, and obviously Dax Hill when he gets in the game. All right, Elliot, thank you, man. Yeah, I got to roll. I just wanted to give you guys a little sneak peek. I was going to do a preview video Sunday morning of my picks and then, put myself out there, and it either comes true or I really look dumb. But I think the Chiefs have a better chance than a lot of people are giving them, particularly with their ability to spread the ball around to different guys. But I understand that, Mahomes is hurt and Kelsey's questionable too. So that would be 2 big situations injury-wise if those guys are compromised, or in the case of Kelce, God forbid for the Chiefs, wasn't playing. Appreciate you guys' time, man. Let me know what you think of the video once I post it up in the comment section. And again, like I said earlier, if you enjoyed the content, please consider sharing the link on social media to help the video get more reach. Guys, have a good Saturday.